Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my week 2 top 25 predictions. Let's just get straight into this. A like and subscribe would help. A comment would also help, and let's get right into it. So first off, we start off with a pretty good game. We got Texas A&M versus Miami, which Texas A&M is only favored by 3 points. To be quite frankly honest, I think they will cover that pretty well. I don't really have any faith in this Miami team to bounce back and be suddenly good. They beat Miami, Ohio 38-3, which honestly isn't much to be impressed by. A&M also didn't really impress. They killed New Mexico. With that being said, I feel like this is just going to be a shot in the dark, but A&M ultimately is ranked, probably has a lot more talent than Miami. So I think they'll be able to go in there and take care of business. I don't necessarily think Miami's back yet. Ball State at Georgia. This should be a walk in the park for Georgia. I think their defense will actually shut this team out, and then they'll score points, obviously. I just think Georgia's defense is too good to allow this team points, simply. I'm going to be kind of moving through this because I am kind of limited on time, but I'll be moving through the games that don't really matter. Youngstown State at Ohio State, for instance. I say they'll score 3. Probably at the very end of the game or very early in the game, but Ohio State will definitely try to score as many points as they can after their bad performance last week to try and reassure people that they have an offense. Delaware at Penn State, no way. This team might honestly get shut out by Penn State's defense. I do like Penn State's defense a lot. They really held West Virginia to very little points last game. And then Drew Aller behind the quarterback, Nick Singleton, should honestly put more points down, but I just think 45 will be where they stop. Notre Dame at NC State, I see a lot of people putting this game on upset alert, which I only think they're doing that because of the road game advantage for NC State. Notre Dame is favored by 7.5. I think they'll cover that. Sam Hartman is not to be underestimated. This is a very good Notre Dame team. And to be honest, NC State struggled at UConn. NC State is probably not that good of a team. They had their run a couple years ago, and then it just all fell apart. So, yeah, I think Notre Dame should be able to handle this game. It might be close for a while, but they'll pull away. Utah at Baylor. I think I've seen people put this one on upset alert too, or made it a little bit closer. This one I don't necessarily disagree with because if anything I noticed in the Baylor-Texas State game, it's that their offense was putting points down. Yes, it's against Texas State, but they were still putting points down, something that Utah struggled to do. But Utah was able to hold Florida to just little points. I say Utah will struggle to hold Baylor to just as little points as they did with Florida, considering it's on the road, but they'll still win this game. I don't know if Cam Rising is going to be in or not. I don't know what's going on there, but I do think their offense will outlast this Baylor defense. After all, Baylor allowed Texas State to score 42 points on them. Utah should be able to score at least 30 plus. Troy at Kansas State. Troy was a good team last year. They finished off with a 2-loss team, I believe. But Kansas State ultimately will probably win this game pretty easily. I'm probably not giving them as many points as I should, but you never know with some of these games. Some teams just like to struggle with the Sun Belt schools and the Mountain West schools. They just like to struggle sometimes. So I'm going to give Troy some points. How about that? Another game that people are saying Nebraska could potentially upset, and I just have to disagree. If anything, Nebraska showed defense. Their offense looked terrible. If anything, they showed defense. And if anything, this Colorado team showed hella offense, as well as this team is probably going to have sold-out seats for the first time in so long. They're going to have a lot of hype going into this game. It's a rivalry at Colorado. Yeah, Nebraska will score points because Colorado's defense is not that good, but ultimately Colorado should have a field day. I mean, it's Nebraska. I'm going to make a mic noise here. It's Nebraska. This team performed terribly against Minnesota. They performed terribly. I don't care whether it was on the road or not. Nebraska controlled the game, choked it. If anything, this game will be close with Colorado winning it. I don't think I think the line for 3 points in Colorado is just give me Colorado. Give me Colorado. Charleston Southern at Clemson. Nothing to be said here. Clemson will just destroy them. They need to. If they don't, then they're just done. They need to destroy them. That's simply it. UNLV at Michigan. Michigan held East Carolina to just a last-second field goal to, just give them any points at all. I think UNLV will kick a field goal early in the game and then kick one late in the game, with ultimately J.J. McCarthy and his offense rocking this team. Michigan is a very strong team. I'd say probably stronger than Penn State, but maybe not. I'd probably say stronger, but also probably there's a little bit more room for Penn State to prove, as well as Michigan. Ole Miss at Tulane, definitely like one of the games of the week. This is a phenomenal game. I just cannot believe the line for this game is 7 points. They will regret that. I'm gonna give the edge to Tulane. Ole Miss has a fantastic offense. They've got Jackson Dart at quarterback, who I thought his name was Jason for a long time. And then they've got the wide receiver who people are literally putting in the run for Heisman. So Ole Miss has a phenomenal offense. But so does Tulane. Me personally, I think Tulane has a potential Heisman candidate, Michael Pratt, behind the center. Yes, Tulane lost a lot of their weapons, and Ole Miss is definitely probably the more talented team here. I think just Michael Pratt will have he'll have a phenomenal game. He will just show a lot of what he can do. And ultimately, Ole Miss will just struggle with mistakes, penalties, you name it, giving Tulane the go-ahead win for 7 points. I also think this will be a pretty packed game. Honestly, a top 25 matchup for Tulane doesn't happen a whole lot. They're probably going to want to go to this. Tulsa at Washington. Nothing to be said here. Michael Penix will kill him. Austin Peay at Tennessee. Nothing to be said here. Joe Milton will have a field day. Appalachian State at UNC. There is something to be said here. Last year, right? This game was fantastic. I don't remember what year it was, but whatever year it was, North Carolina and Appalachian State duked it out into like overtime, and it was a very close finish. I think Appalachian State will provide sort of the same. Appalachian State, this is just what they're good at, right? Like, look at history. Michigan, A&M, North Carolina. This team loves to travel into stadiums and give them a run for their money. I think they'll do the same thing here. I think they'll just find empty spots in the defense and just put up points. But ultimately, North Carolina will pull away and take a victory that they need to take. SMU at Oklahoma. To be honest, I think SMU has a pretty good offense, but Oklahoma will just do what they did last week. This SMU team, I don't remember who they played, but it wasn't an impressive win, which is ultimately why I am saying this game will be as it is, and they're on the road. Lafayette at Duke. I have nothing to be said here. Duke should kick their rum. Duke offensively did struggle, I feel like, in the Clemson game. They scored because they were given plenty of turnovers and whatnot. It was their defense, if anything, that held Clemson to just 7. And it was Duke's offense that actually allowed Clemson any points, as I figured out later on. So I just think Duke will maybe not put up that many points, but I could be wrong. And then the game of the week, by far, we all knew it. Texas at Bama. A lot of people think Texas is going to go into Bama and win this game. But to be quite frankly honest, this is going to be a full Alabama stadium. Quinn Ewers really struggled in the first half against Rice. I guess he picked it up in the second half, but he really struggled. What's his name? God, what's his name? Wow, what is this quarterback's name? Like Jalen Milroe. Jeez, that took way too long. Jalen Milroe showed a lot of dual threat capabilities. He was making some great plays. I think Alabama is actually pretty happy with their quarterback right now. To be honest, I think this one will be a shootout with Alabama being just out of Texas's reach. I think Alabama will just capitalize on more of their possessions, and Texas may turn the ball over a couple times, Alabama will take the edge on this game. I just don't think Texas – I think Texas ultimately is just overall the weaker team, and they're traveling into Bama. I think people who are just saying Texas is going to win this game, I think personally they just are sick and tired of Alabama being so good all the time and want them to win. Or want them to just lose, want the upset to happen, which I'm totally on their side, but I'm also the realist here, and honestly, Bama is probably going to win this game pretty easily. Oregon at Texas Tech, one of the games of the week. I would love to favor Texas Tech in this game. I would love to so much, and I'm going to regret not doing it. But, man, this is such a stacked Oregon team. Bo Nix behind quarterback, a receiver that everybody's talking about. Bucky Irving is an absolute dog, and overall their defense is pretty solid. I would love to favor Texas Tech in this game. Now that they're 0-1, I can't say that they're going to have a lot of fans, but they might still. And, yeah, I think it's just going to be tough for Oregon to travel into Texas Tech and, win. They could just make a bunch of mistakes leading to Texas Tech's success. But, yeah, man, I'm probably going to regret favoring Oregon in this one. I'm probably going to do it. But ultimately, if Bucky Irving and, what Texas Tech showed against Wyoming, Texas Tech has a terrible rush defense. So maybe Bucky Irving will just have a field day, and I'll be right. Hopefully that's what the situation is. I'd love to see Texas Tech win that, but I also like being right on my predictions. This should be absolutely nothing for LSU. After losing Florida State, they should absolutely rock this team. Wisconsin at Washington State. This is a tough one favoring Wisconsin, but last year Washington State pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the year, going into Wisconsin and winning. I think Wisconsin's a more developed team, and honestly, I'm just not high on this Washington State team. I just think Wisconsin should go in here and take care of business, if not by more. If anything, Washington State's about their defense and not about their offense. Southern Mississippi at Florida State. Florida State should absolutely take care of business. I will not destroy Southern Mississippi, say 3 points. I say they could probably put up 17 against Florida State, but ultimately Florida State will handle this game and put in the reserves pretty early. UC Davis at Oregon State. You know what? I saw some clips from Oregon State, and dude, DJ looked pretty good, man. He looked pretty good, and it's UC Davis. Oregon State, if anything, is about their defense. They should hold this team, and then the offense should have a perfectly fine game. And then finally finishing it off with our first Pac-12 matchup. Stanford at USC. I'm going to give this one to USC, but, dude, I'm going to say Stanford's going to give USC a run for their money, whether this comes down to a last-second touchdown or not. I'm going to say Stanford's going to give USC a run for their money because if I've said it multiple times, USC has no defense. They have no defense. So Stanford, who's literally fighting for last place in the Pac-12 right now, Stanford could literally, show some strength in this game and honestly expose USC. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm predicting, and that's the last game of this week. Sorry if I went through that really fast. Again, I have limited time here. I made pretty good time, though, so yeah, with that being said, a like and subscribe would help. A comment would help. Tell me your predictions for this week down in the comments or what you disagree with. I love responding to comments, and that is all for me. Adios.